All right.
We are live. We are live. Welcome, 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 everybody.
Are we definitely live on my end? All right, looks like we are. What's going on, guys? It is K-Dub here with the Crypto Lark. It is so nice to have everybody joining us tonight for this crypto community live stream. How's everybody doing?
That's it. Welcome, welcome, everyone in chat. I see a lot of people already been in there chatting it up, talking about all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to be going over a lot of different topics today. Bitcoin, yeah, we're probably going to talk about that at some point. Exchanges, ICOs, all kinds of fun stuff. So, K-Dub, where do you want to kick it off at, man?
Man, I don't know. Wherever everybody else wants to kick it off. I just realized I tried to run this wire, and I think this is going to, the whole time, I think I'm going to be trying to pull this thing out. I got to get a better set of headphones, but...
You do, man. These are great.
I know, right? I got to. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing we could talk about is just that, I noticed that this bear market, which is my first bear market ever, I've literally only ever seen a bull run and then a bear market. I've never had a chance to actually go through a second cycle, but, yeah, it looks like it could surpass the 420 days of the longest bear cycle, which was back in, it was 2014 to 2015. And if we stick this one out for another month, then this would be the longest, pretty much bear market Bitcoin's ever seen. So that's why people are like, oh, well, past performance doesn't always mean, the future or whatever it's called, because people look at these charts and they're trying to, basically say that it's going to repeat itself again. But the question is, if everyone's watching this time, like there's so many people predicting the same numbers, like saying like 2,500 the bottom, and then we're going to go to this. And it's like, we're all looking at the same chart. So don't you think the smart money won't do that this time? You know what I mean? Like they'll do something different to catch you off guard.
Exactly. Look, the market cycle's super fascinating, and to see the bear market dragging on for as long as it has, it will end. This is what happens in bear markets. And anyone who says, oh, we're never going to have, new all-time highs, it just seems crazy to me when you see what's being built, when you see the whole big picture. Just a matter of time. But the patience is the hard thing, and that's the problem. There's the old I think it was Warren Buffett phrase that the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent, right? And for people who went balls deep into their crypto investments, maxed out the credit cards and all that different stuff, that's tough.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, people were taking out loans, buying at the all-time highs. It's crazy, selling their houses and stuff. And it was really, really insane, man. I mean, luckily when I had actually got in, I didn't really get in because of the hype. I actually just got in because I had seen somebody else use Bitcoin and I thought it was a really cool technology. So I just bought some and was like, this is cool. And, not really paying much attention to it, come back later. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is worth a lot more than it was last time I bought it. So, that kind of, obviously a lot of people got really interested in the price originally, but, it's definitely going to be difficult when you consider moving into, like, for example, like how long have we been how long have we been using gold? For like 5,000 years in developed countries, right? And stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Look at how long that took to really just get adopted. I mean, even in the US, up until the 1970s, we were still just on the gold standard. So when you look at something that's only been around for 10 years and you wonder why the entire world is not just jumping to, hop right into cryptos right now, these things take a really long time, and on top of the fact, we're not just dealing with money, which is, very difficult to try to get the world to adopt, but also technology. And, technology is not an overnight success most of the time. Anything you look at, you look at email, you look at the internet, just look at anything, look at phones, like, I don't know. It's just, you just think...
The thing is the curve is happening so much faster because it's so hard to say, okay, we're gonna compare it to gold, right? Because gold is just so fundamentally different. And I know there's a lot of gold bugs out there. Power to you guys. I'm not bad talking gold here, but the reality is that gold doesn't have the same proposition values that Bitcoin does. The fact that you can send Bitcoin across the world in maybe an hour, half hour, whatever it might be, it's a lot easier than trying to ship a gold bar around the world. Without a doubt. Or if you want to just crack off a fraction of a Bitcoin, well, you can do that too. It's much harder to sliver off a piece of your gold right there. And so there's a lot of things that come into play when it comes down to gold. But if we look at the idea of this money that is going to take over the world, it doesn't happen overnight. We need catalysts. We need events to happen. And there's so many potential catalysts from, the US debt bubble or bank runs in France or Brexit or whatever these different things might be that might push people to this. We've seen the most exposed economies actually taking a greater interest in Bitcoin, people in Venezuela, people in Zimbabwe, right? That will spread.
Yeah, actually, just recently, if you check any of the volumes on these local Bitcoins or anything like that, these guys, it's at all-time highs right now in South America. Like literally,
Yeah.
they're probably purchasing more of it than we are at this point, out of the desperation and need of actually having a currency that works. But I wanted to just say something, because this is something that Mark Moss had actually brought up a while ago on the channel, and he recently put a video out too, which it's a pretty cool video. But he talks about how people like to compare Bitcoin. It's too slow. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I sent some Bitcoin the other day to go do some stuff. It is slow, man. Like, you got to admit, it's not like sending XRP or ETH or Nano or anything like that, right?
Yeah. That's right.
But, we can talk about, the proof of work and the security and all that other stuff. But the main thing that I really want to point out is, like he says, comparing Bitcoin to a transaction layer, okay, which is basically what something like Visa would be, is totally wrong. Trying to say, why doesn't it scale to that length? He took the idea of having gold, right? Well, it's difficult to send gold, so what do? Well, I put gold in a bank or something like that, and then they give me a note that says, oh, well, this is gold. So now I don't have to shave the gold off on the countertop. So that's almost like the secondary layer. So you have the infrastructure layer, which would essentially be the settlement layer, and that's Bitcoin. The second layer would be Lightning Network, and we don't know what the other layers are, but I mean, look at how many layers we have right now. If you're somebody that has gold, well, you have gold, then you store it, then let's say you have credit cards or something like that, you could spend it, right? But then on top of that, we have other layers like PayPal and Venmo. So I think comparing Bitcoin to, second, third, fourth, fifth layer scaling solutions are crazy, or payment channels, I should say. It's not. It's the settlement layer, and it's better, because think about it. Honestly, can you buy Bitcoin with a cup of coffee right now? No, it's probably not going to happen for a while, but Bitcoin is so much better at sending large amounts of money. And the question is, if you're going to send massive amounts, like say like millions of dollars, okay? Bitcoin's actually good. It's actually good that it's slow. You know what I'm saying? It's good that it takes time. It's good that all the nodes have to agree on it. It's good that it has all of that security, because even like Vitalik says, you're going to trade off there's three things, okay? You have speed, decentralization, and security. And usually one of those takes a hit depending on when the other two strengthen. So, that's the problem. And that's pretty much the situation at hand right now. A lot of people think that we need a better Bitcoin. I agree, but I don't think we need a new Bitcoin. I just think we need to focus on Bitcoin. It's already proven. It's a decade old. Yeah. So,
well, that's the thing. You can have a better Bitcoin. You can make Bitcoin better, and we're continually moving in that direction. And with second layer solutions and all the different things we talk about when it comes to how do we make Bitcoin better. That of course doesn't mean that other cryptocurrencies are bad. It just means Bitcoin's awesome, and we're moving in the positive direction with Bitcoin and seeing new developments in Bitcoin. It's fantastic. But the thing is that you can buy a cup of coffee with it, and it's great for sending millions of dollars at the same time. It's actually very, very powerful, because I mean, I know you probably saw the videos. I went to Australia to the 72-hour Bitcoin challenge.
Can we talk about that? I want to talk about that. How did that go, man? I mean, realistically, I live off of Bitcoin, but I kind of cheat because I stay home all the time, So how is it like actually traveling and having to live off of Bitcoin?
Look, for most things, it was pretty easy, and I was actually surprised. And look, they've been working on adoption in this particular town. So there's been a company, Travel by Bit, who's been working on trying to get that merchant adoption going through. But it's actually really easy to do, and it was surprisingly easy to do most of the time. There were some hiccups along the way. When I first got there, my wallet was acting up a little bit. That was due to a bad connection. But for the most part, very painless process. You go to the merchant, they bring up the QR code, you send the money, and it confirms. Now, it confirms slightly slower with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's Bitcoin. And I only used Bitcoin on that trip, but we bought beers, we bought lunch, we paid for our flights, we paid for our rental car, we paid for our hotel. Well, one of them anyway. The second hotel situation happened.
You said there was an issue, right? Because even some hotels, they still want a credit card for insurance purposes, and that's still a barrier that we're dealing with.
That's right. I mean, I still had to put down a credit card for the car, right? The rental car. They still wanted to have a credit card for damages, and I still had to put down credit card for the hotel. And actually, in the end, with the hotel, the second hotel we stayed at, basically, what happened was we went out for dinner. Said, I'll come back. I'm paying Bitcoin for the room in like an hour or two. I came back and like they closed at 9. It was like 7 o'clock. And she's like, well, I've already done the cash out for tonight. So you'll just have to pay with your credit card. And like, well, no, I only can pay with Bitcoin. She's like, well, okay, you can pay with Bitcoin at like 9 o'clock when we open the front desk tomorrow. We're like, I'm leaving at 5 a.m. And she's like, well, then we're just going to charge your credit card. Yeah. I'm like, okay, then that's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing,
you know, that's it. They don't have to. It's an extra option and it's a great option. But I think actually the fun thing was doing it, going out there, doing it, being in the field, seeing how it works, what the difficulties are. And generally, it did work. We had one situation where the Wi-Fi tower or the internet tower was down in that local town for like 3 hours. They're doing repairs on it. So we went to pay for our breakfast. It wasn't working. And then there was another situation where like they just hadn't had charged the iPad up, so they couldn't take payments and Bitcoin.
Yeah. So I mean, these are all issues that'll be patched over time. I mean, you see what they've done even with like GoTenna. They've put the satellites in space. They have it now, so you don't even need to be connected to the internet to use the Lightning Network. You just need to have cell phone service, pretty much, or some kind of reception or be connected. So I mean, they are making advancements, obviously, but even once we make it in the background, assuming that because we have something that works, suddenly all businesses are just going to like be like, yeah, like we're just going to, like it's going to be difficult. They're really going to need that incentive to start accepting it. And
absolutely. Well, and the one thing I can say to everyone who's listening right now is if you know somewhere in your town that accepts Bitcoin, go out and spend Bitcoin there. Stop being afraid to spend your Bitcoin, spend it and replace it. Because if you do not spend it, the merchants will not keep accepting it. They won't keep that iPad there forever. They won't keep that iPad charged. They won't keep that sign up in the window that says we accept Bitcoin here. And when it comes time in a year or two and Bitcoin becomes more popular, they say, well, we already did that. Nobody really came in. Nobody really used it. Wasn't worth our time. So please, 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 if you know a business in your town that accepts Bitcoin, go out and incentivize them to actually put that sign in the window. Go out and spend some Bitcoin. Don't be afraid to spend your Bitcoin, guys. Please, this is how mass adoption happens. If we're all just hodling onto it and never spending it, we're never going to get merchants to start accepting it in a big way.
That's
we have to get out there.
That's a good point. Actually, I was watching some stuff on YouTube where I forget, if I find it, I'll maybe drop it in the link later if I find it, but they were talking to people that actually did open up their shops to start accepting Bitcoin. And this was, over the past couple of years. And one of the biggest things was a few of them, were just like, well, nobody ever uses it. So we just stopped. You know what I mean? But I'm sure if people actually came in and were using it, plus on top of that, there's so many solutions now. There's so many different projects out there that even if you don't want to accept Bitcoin directly, you just want to accept cash, but you want to increase your, audience, let's say, to people who do use Bitcoin, they also have things out there now where you can do instant, cash settled for the actual vendor themselves. Now, I know that that's not the vision of Bitcoin, but it's still a step in the right direction. I mean, if I can use my Bitcoin and this guy gets his cash, that's what he wants anyway. Well, it's still a step in the right direction. So,
and it's still good for merchants. And this is the thing for anyone out there who's got a shop. You can accept Bitcoin quite easy. There's a lot of different services. There's BitPay, there's Coinbase Commerce, there's Travel by Bit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Living Room of Satoshi in Australia. So there's lots of different things that you can do. And there's no chargebacks. Even with the services that convert into dollars, once that Bitcoin leaves your wallet, there's no chargeback for the merchant. So that, if you have a problem with chargebacks in your business, a lot of e-commerce businesses do have like a 1% to 2% chargeback rate. Some businesses more. You can avoid that. You don't have to go through chargebacks or pay the credit card fees.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So lots of incentives for merchants to accept it. Lower fees on your side for someone sending it. I mean, I think I did. I don't know.
Definitely
let's
lower
say 20
fees.
Transactions and spent like 50. Because I had to pay the fees, right, to send the Bitcoin. But I think I spent like 50 cents in fees the whole trip. So.
But you know what, though? Here's the thing. A lot of people say that Bitcoin is too expensive. Like, yeah, when the network got clogged last year, hell yeah, that was like $30.
Yeah,
$30 to send Bitcoin. That's crazy. That's unacceptable. Like that will literally screw mass adoption right there. But they got to fix that. But as far as the fees go, I mean, yeah, they're a little bit higher, than some out there. But at the same time, I think that fees are pretty important because they prevent spam on the network. So some people assume that everything should just be totally free. I mean, in Bitcoin's case, if it was a totally free transaction, you could just, it's the same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum, you need gas to send transactions. If you didn't have gas, you could literally just execute smart contracts infinitely, and just send it into a death spiral. So these things are there for reasons, also to incentivize the miners as well, obviously. So, I mean, I personally don't mind paying a fee because, think about it. When you go out there, how much are you paying? Like, for example, if you're a vendor, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think because they swipe their credit cards, it's instant. Well, it's instant maybe for you because it's an IOU system. Basically, Visa just goes, oh, yeah, K-Dub, he's got the money in the bank account. He's good. So we'll just, show these numbers on the screen. But the actual vendor doesn't get that money. I used to own a business, and you have to batch those credit cards out. You don't get that money right away. Actually, if you were doing live transactions with Bitcoin, like on the spot, you'd actually get the money faster than you do using these traditional systems. Even the best ones out there still take 24 hours. So
absolutely. Well, that's it. In most credit cards, you got, what's it going to be? 30 days, 60 days, depending on country and all these things. And the thing with fees that I think a lot of people like to ignore, and okay, when Bitcoin was very expensive, that was a different conversation, but paying fees, let's not pretend like we're not paying fees with our banks anyway. I mean, I've got a credit card. It costs me, I think they charge me a $50 a year fee just to have the credit card. Right? Or when I go to Australia, for example, every time I swipe that card, there is a foreign currency conversion fee. So it's, 1% charged every time, or 0.5% or whatever it is. So every time I swipe my card, there's a fee. So it's actually, in that sense, it was cheaper to probably travel on Bitcoin. I didn't even think of that until now, but it's probably cheaper to travel on Bitcoin than swipe my credit card everywhere.
It might have been. I mean, I remember when
$2 versus 50 cents, but still,
Yeah, I mean, I went to Cuba, and just the exchange rates alone are like straight up theft. I mean, it's like I traded my dollars for pesos and like instantly lost 10% in the transaction. I was like,
yeah,
what
there
the hell
you go.
Is this? Like, I'm coming here to spend my money. I'm coming here to spend my money in your country, and you're taking 10% out of my pocket before I even get off the boat. It's like, so it's crazy. It's definitely crazy. Speaking of crazy, I'm sure you saw this. If you didn't see it, did you see that our future crypto president, John McAfee, is officially out on a boat now? He's been exiled, and
he's on a boat.
He's on a boat, and he's still running for president, and he's putting videos out. And he hasn't paid his taxes in 8 years. And yeah.
How drunk is he right now? No, really, how drunk is he right now? Just out there. We're going to Africa, guys. Get on the boat.
He was having a drink.
Let's just go around in circles till he passes out. We'll take him back. And
yeah, definitely.
He's getting a little paranoid, guys. Take the weed off of him.
I mean, I don't know. I can't see that even. Even if he was to run for a presidential candidate, I mean, I don't even know if would they even. I mean, did they even allow that? Like, is that possible? No. I don't even see how that could happen.
Well, the thing is because he might get on a show once in a while. But the reality is that I remember back in, it wasn't the previous one, but the one before that, the Green Party was on the ballot in every single election. They tried to get into the debate, and they were arrested by the police. So, like, John McAfee is never going to get on the debate stage or anywhere near a debate stage, or he might get on some, he might get on RT or something like that. But overall, I don't even think it's a good thing that he's running as like a crypto advocate during the presidency, because John McAfee's a liability in our community. I mean, he's entertaining.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, Gandhi in the chat actually just said, he has done a lot for awareness. You have to give him that. I mean, he has drawn a lot of attention to the space, but is it always the attention that we want? Is the question? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's, publicity's good, but there will be people who, if you don't want I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, John McAfee's going to do whatever John McAfee wants to do, but it's not always positive, right? Someone who's so heavy drinking and all the rest of the crazy that he does, getting out there representing crypto, especially when McAfee's represented, different scams before. And look, no one's perfect when it comes down to it, but still, it's not the best representative we could have for the community.
I mean, you got that guy running for president, and then it's bad enough that everybody already has this terrible opinion of cryptocurrencies. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was the money used for the darknet and people trying to do illegal stuff, and then it was, the bubble that popped and everybody lost their money. So there's, it has like so much negative stigma to it, and the fact that it still is surviving, I think, is absolutely incredible. I can't think of many other things that have been literally kicked and beaten, and then when you're on the ground, kicked in the face yet again. I mean, it's been tried to be shut down multiple times, 51% attack, overrun, and I mean, still the thing survives. So, you know, referring to the Bitcoin network, obviously. So, yeah. I mean, it's the Lindy effect. Yeah. I say that all the time. You know, if something's been around for so long, there's a good chance that it'll be around for that long again, you know? So we'll have to see how that plays out. But actually, one of the things that we talked about before we put the stream on, and I do want to bring up, though, because it was a good point, you were talking about all this crap that's been going on with the exchange hacks, the FUD, and, you know, the exit scams, but even just the exchanges alone. I mean, people are horrified to, you know, even get involved in this stuff and trade. They don't know who to trust, you know, and every day, I mean, I do news every day, and I try not to do, like, FUD articles, but I can't help it. There's at least one thing a day where somebody's getting scammed, somebody's getting kidnapped for ransom. So, you know, it's just like you can't avoid it. So the space is still very messy right now, and it scares a lot of people.
It does. And look, I was actually researching a video on this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up doing it or not, but my main thesis of that video was crypto doesn't have necessarily a problem when it comes to things like this. We actually have a PR problem because we have a media problem. The media loves these if it bleeds, it leads kind of stories. Like that, remember the Norwegian businessman's wife who was kidnapped? They're asking for $10 million of Monero. That's not Monero's fault. That's the kidnapper's fault. And kidnapping currently is a $2 billion a year industry. And like what 0.001% of that happens in cryptocurrencies. So, but yeah, this is the thing, is that we see this coming out, that we have basically these, you know, trusted intermediaries just screwing all kinds of stuff up. And so when it comes to like exchanges, we all know what the mantra is: don't store your money on exchanges. If you're running a trade, that's something different, but that's not a bank. It's not a safe. It's like an open marketplace, and you wouldn't leave a wallet full of cash sitting in an open marketplace. So why do we leave money sitting on exchanges?
Right. I do get a lot of mixed comments. I notice I say that, I try to say that at least once per video, because there are still new people in the space, believe it or not. Everybody thinks that
every day.
Everybody thinks crypto's dead. Nah, no way. Because I'll tell you, some of the subscribers that I get, some of the people that join the Telegram chat, you could tell that they're new. In fact, I've had a few people reach out to me telling me, you know, I just got in a few weeks ago, you know? So this tells me that these people need to be reminded. So sometimes on my news episodes, you know, I will say things that are common sense, okay? And sometimes people who've been in the space for a year, 2 years are like, yeah, everybody knows that already. It's like, yeah, well, these people don't. And why did you screw up last year? Not you particular. I'm not pointing to anybody. I'm just saying, why?
It's me.
Yeah, you. It's your fault.
It's you.
But why did we lose money last year? Why did we FOMO into these ICOs? Why did we buy at the top, right? It was because no one was educating anybody, right? And we're all guilty of it. Every single one of us, you know? And I think that that's why this time around, I think that education is the most important thing, you know? Everybody wants to have the network effect. They want the next 100 million people to join crypto. Well, these people need to learn. They need to, you know, they didn't go through what you went through. You're an OG. I mean, geez, anyone that's been in this market since the run up and the down, I mean, you might as well be an expert. I mean, I know there's no experts in crypto, but you might as well be an expert. You lived through a freaking entire cycle. So, you know, it's just, it's tough, but you know, you have to find that balance between providing content, but also making sure that you educate, because I really seriously don't want people getting hurt a second time. I'm telling you, because it's bad enough, the things that you have to listen to, you know, from friends and family that, you know, kind of was like, oh, yeah, that was a good idea. Let me buy some. K-Dub said, and, you know, now they're down. So
I just left it on Coinbase, K-Dub. That was the right thing to do, right? Oh, and they got hacked. It's done.
I actually, believe it or not, out of all the exchanges, I feel weird saying this, but I kind of trust Coinbase, and I trust them because they're US based, and they really don't have a lot of wiggle room. You know what I mean? Like they're like, I'm pretty sure if anything ever happened with Coinbase, everyone would be compensated, and there would, you know what I mean? Like if they did get hacked.
I feel like Gemini is kind of the same way. Actually,
Gemini
not a lot of people talk about Gemini, but Gemini definitely, it's very compliant when it comes to that. Well, interesting thing too, actually, is Binance has a insurance fund. So they stack up, you know, it's like 10% of all the fees they collect, they put in
it's the Safety
an insurance fund. That's right. And so 98% of their holdings are actually in cold wallets, which you can't get, the hackers couldn't get to. So, you know, there's that. But one thing I actually wanted to mention, which is, yeah, we got the hacks and don't keep your money in exchange, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, though, we have this interesting situation where I feel like in the next 5 years, we're probably going to have thousands of exchanges. Look how many new dexes have launched. I mean, I must get an email a day from a new exchange. It's like, hey, we have a new exchange. We're 0.1 second faster than the other guy. Like, okay, great. But when I actually look at it and think about some of the major players getting involved in crypto exchanges, I mean, we have Bakkt, obviously, but now we have the Stock Exchange of Thailand, who's applying for a license in Thailand to get a cryptocurrency exchange launched in the country. We have MUFG, which is like the biggest or second biggest financial institution in Japan and like the fourth or fifth biggest in the world. And so they're launching a cryptocurrency exchange. We have Line, which is the biggest messaging service in East Asia. They're launching a crypto. They actually have already launched a cryptocurrency exchange. Norwegian Air was talking about launching a cryptocurrency exchange. Your grandma's talking about it recently, K-Dub. Like, you know, everyone's launched a cryptocurrency exchange these days, man. Like,
maybe it's healthy competition, though. I mean, the only thing you worry about though is the liquidity, and that's something that everyone's been worrying about. If you have a ton of exchanges, can they maintain that liquidity? I don't know. But you know, I'm down for healthy competition. I mean, no one likes a monopoly. You know, Binance, they're successful. I've heard a lot of people say really negative stuff about Binance. I've heard people say Binance is evil. They're the devil, this and that. It's like, okay, well, listen, on one hand, you can't deny the fact that CZ is a businessman. He is, come on. I mean, you know, clearly he's a businessman.
He's a very successful one.
But on top of that, let's really break it down and stop pointing fingers. Name one time Binance got hacked that they didn't return the funds, or, you know, like, I feel like if anything happens with Binance, I kind of just go like, oh, okay, well, they'll fix it in a day. But like any other exchange, I'm like, oh my God, that's it. It's over, you know? And that's because they've been able to time and time again, provide value and have really great security measures that they take. And the same thing with Coinbase, even though Coinbase is whatever. I mean, to me, Coinbase is more of that gateway, but now with Binance Jersey, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? How do you think that's going to have an effect on Coinbase? I mean, in the US, we can't use that, so we're going to still use Coinbase. But what do you think globally, like by you? You think a lot of people are going to switch to Jersey?
I think there will be some people that will. I mean, obviously, Coinbase has British pounds already, so there's not as much competition there, or, you know, more competition, whatever you might want to say. But it's definitely going to be important. It's interesting how Europe has not been as big of a player as it really should be. The euro markets don't even come close to the dollar markets, and they don't even come close to the yen markets. You know, look at Japan. Japan's got about a quarter of the population of the European Union, and yet it's got 10 times the volume in terms of fiat going into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So it's interesting in Europe why there hasn't been more interest, why there's not more euros going in, why the French and the Germans, I mean, the Dutch are really big on it. It's one of the bigger markets, but it's interesting why there's not more money going in their euros, because there's plenty of exchanges in Europe. There's Bitpanda and Bitcoin, or blockchain.io, and lots of other different ones, but they're not getting in for some reason. But in terms of Binance, they're promising on launching 8 different fiat on-ramps. So I guess they've had 3 of them come out. We've got the Ugandan shilling, I believe, might be the shilling there, the British pound, and the euro. And so that's 5 more fiat on-ramps that are promised by the end of 2019. So, you know, Binance is certainly putting in the groundwork.
Well, and they're working on a DEX. So if they can capture the on-ramps, the centralized and the decentralized exchanges, what's really left at that point? I mean, that's how you get in, and then here's your choice. Do you want to take it into your own hands, or do you want to trust them? You have both options. You know, that's pretty much it. So, I mean, of course, there's other things like atomic swaps and all that kind of stuff, but most of that stuff is really complicated for people that are just getting in. And, you know, let's be real, unless they find, you know, you need like a click button, one click, drag and drop kind of app for that, because some of these wallets, even the great tech out there, is just too complicated. There's too many steps. And you have to, it's like you got to you have to read a manual in order to just operate the app itself. And then the app itself is like still confusing, and, you know, so it's tough. That's why I think this whole bear market's been great, because we've seen so many projects just building. I mean, and the fact that, I mean, I stopped going to conferences. Last one I went to was World CryptoCon. Honestly, they just cost way too much money personally, and I don't really get that much value out of them. But I will say that I've noticed a lot of the, you know, VC kind of ICO flippers, I'm only in it for the money, kind of leave. And it's more of people who actually want to be here, who are actually building and actually care about the infrastructure of the future moving forward, not just making a quick flip. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. In a way, look, there are still ICOs happening, which is interesting. I don't know if a lot of people are paying attention to anything, but there's still some actually great products being brought out. But I feel like so much of the scammy stuff. There was even a few weeks there where I feel like even the scammers, they went on holiday or something. Like I wasn't really getting the posts in the comment section and stuff. I was like, "Where'd you guys go? I miss you."
Yeah. So they're coming back now. I notice I have to kick a few crypto zombie clones every video. They usually go. I tell everyone, I don't know how people are still falling for this. Like, dude, I don't do giveaways in the freaking comments like ever. But they'll always find a way. They impersonate you on Telegram and Twitter and everything. So it sucks because sometimes I've actually had projects email me and be like, you're such a scammer, and whatever. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, like I sent you the 3 ETH and like you didn't like do the sponsored content. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I've never even met you. So what, good for those guys. They're probably making more money than we are.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a funny situation when it comes down to it. But yeah, anyway, the ICO market, it did become quite weird, but it's this, weird way, the bear market is a good sign overall. And I know it's really hard to get through. It's tough. It's psychologically draining. And on and on and on it goes, right? But at the same time, I think we're going to come out of it stronger than we ever were before because everything happening in the background, none of that stuff stopped. We still have all these big companies who are trying to get in. And unfortunately, the government shutdown in the US is kind of delaying, BAC's futures contracts, and the Bitcoin ETF is basically on permanent hold until the government starts working again. Mm-hmm. But there's still innovation happening. Look what's happening in Thailand. Look what's happening in Japan.
By the way, the government shut down, but we're still paying our taxes though. Just
and the military still blowing up kids,
down,
and
right?
The government's still spying on you, and it's all the important stuff keeps working, right? Government, it's some funny stuff, isn't it?
No more conspiracies, Lark. Too many conspiracies on this channel. No.
They're gonna shut the live stream down now.
I want to keep my channel, please. Don't censor me. So,
oh man, yeah, but competition is a good thing. When it really comes down to it, competition is a good thing. Like we saw the Cryptopia hack happen the other day, and we still haven't got a lot of straight out details about that. I imagine that's because it's in investigation with the police. That's why they haven't really said anything. But that was come on. I mean, actually, someone in here got someone in my chat said that they lost a quarter of a Bitcoin, which that's brutal, man. I'm sorry. That just and they were just trying to get money in to buy something and get it back out. So like that's brutal, man. Like just wrong time to be putting money in.
Did you hear what just happened to the founder of Siren Labs? He just tried to do an over-the-counter trade with someone who was a trustee and said everything was fine, and he was trying to buy Grin coin, Grin, the new privacy coin, Wimble thing, and apparently it was a scam. And he didn't release how much money that he had gotten stolen, but he says it was a good amount. So, yeah, I mean, these things, they just happen. Be safe out there. I mean, people are still clicking on phishing links. It's like, guys, you can, when you take your mouse and you hover over the link, just look at the little text that shows up in the corner. Make sure you're going to where you want to go. Like it's just simple, simple things.
Use a hardware wallet and all this stuff, these basic precautions, because we are still in a lot of ways in the wild west of crypto. And there are some sheriffs in town now. It's not as bad as it used to be by any means, but it's still a very wild place. And we see substandard exchanges, we see exchange hacks, we see phishing sites, we see all of this stuff. We see scammy ICOs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes down to it, you got to be careful. You have to take your security very seriously, because those trusted institutions that you might be used to if you're a newcomer to the space, they don't really fully exist in crypto yet. We have some that we can trust more than others, but if you're looking for, a bank level kind of experience, you don't have that in crypto yet.
No, you don't. And it's totally different too, because it's not the same. Like for example, let's say exchange gets hacked. Well, when an exchange gets hacked, they're actually taking real digital currency that cannot be replicated, and they're moving it to another wallet. When you see like banks getting hacked and stuff like that, I mean, all that stuff is FDIC insured, and really it's just a bunch of numbers on a screen anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't even have the money in the bank regardless that they actually say they have. You know, the whole fractional reserve banking. I mean, that was the whole idea behind the yellow vest, the bank run, was these guys are like, they were saying take out 20%. The truth is in reality, most of these banks in the US, you can't even take out 10%. If everyone tried to take out their money, it wouldn't work. Not even 10% of it. So the system is just completely screwed up. And you know, they bash what's happening in cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrencies really make so much more sense. But what doesn't make sense to people is the constant fluctuation and volatility. But that's only because it's not an established thing. You still need that network effect, you know? Get cryptocurrencies up to the market cap of gold. I don't think you're going to see that volatility.
No, it'll definitely chill out at that point, and it's coming. It's a question of patience, and that's the exciting thing about cryptos. And as tough, it's weird. Go ahead. It's weird psychologically, as tough as it is to see the prices go down, but then you return to this situation where, okay, the prices have gone down, and we've, seen the value of our portfolios go down. But at the same time, like, oh my God, what an amazing opportunity it is right now to get more Bitcoin, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, everybody was complaining when it was 17,000, 18,000. Oh, I wish it could get cheaper. It's
Why didn't I buy it 3,000?
It's the cheapest it's been, and everyone's like, oh, I'm not buying. I'm scared. I've been buying. I've been dollar cost averaging, not all the time. I mean, I'm not going nuts with it, because we don't know where the bottom is. We don't. Everyone predicts it. This guy says hyperwave theory, we're going to 1,000. This guy says we've bottomed out. Look, did you watch my video? You probably didn't, but when I was talking about the manipulation with the bots, I mean, did you see how ridiculously manipulated the charts have been since the middle of December, or since like December 24th? I mean, it's literally the same exact. I mean, I'm telling you, you could take these two things and overlap them, and they're the same exact pattern, except one is smaller. I know they're fractal patterns, that's what people call them, but I call that manipulation because, come on, man. Like literally moving at the exact same ratio. It's just crazy. So, and it's going to get easier and easier and easier if the market cap keeps going lower, because the lower the price gets, the easier it is to move the prices, right? It's a lot easier to go from 3,000 to 1,500 than it is to go from 3,000 to 6,000. I mean, arguably, even though market cap is fake, but just indulge me in my example, please.
Look, the reality is we need Bitcoin at 100,000 plus. We need Bitcoin at 1 million. Imagine the stability of the markets when Bitcoin is at 1 million. And I know that we're in a tough market situation. People are going to have a hard time imagining these kind of situations, but some people actually, but not many people back when Bitcoin was $3 or $10 or $100 could imagine it getting to 20,000. Mm-hmm. But if you can think big, if you can look around the corner and see, well, what could the future look like? Does this make sense in the future to have this kind of a cryptographic asset that provides this kind of value? Yes, it does. And so if we see Bitcoin at $1 million, as an example, imagine how big the crypto markets are going to be overall. And imagine the stability that's going to bring in. And then when you see Bitcoin go from 1 million down to 950,000 or 997,000, you're like, oh, whatever. It's down like 0.3% today. It's fine.
Yeah, and the longer it's out there, the more it's gonna hopefully we hope it does. Obviously, you need people to come into the space. You need people to purchase the Bitcoin, clearly. But it's definitely grown. It's been growing exponentially, even on the network itself. You're seeing transactions up. You're seeing wallets opened. You're seeing hash rate going up. I mean, there's so much positive news right now, but yet, where's the price, right? Like, it's almost like weird. Like, this is what sparks that conspiracy stuff that people say is, why are we hearing nothing but good things come out, but yet the price is still down? I mean, even when you were talking about exchanges, I know some people have their opinion on Roger Ver or whatever, but, he's working with those guys with CoinFlex, and they're doing a physically settled futures as well. So these are all things that are going to be so much better than what we saw last year. I mean, you don't think it's like a complete coincidence that literally on the day that futures open was the all-time high for Bitcoin on that day. And they've been shorting it ever since. So it did a lot more harm than it did good, in my opinion. That's why I like these physically settled ones, because at least you actually have to have the coins. You're not just doing it on paper. Because that actually hurts the fundamentals and the economics behind Bitcoin as well. Because everyone's like, oh, there's 21 million Bitcoin, 4 million of them are lost, right? Okay, so they assume that they're lost. So but once these guys are printing paper Bitcoins, that takes the value away. And now there's not 21 million. Now there's 100x leverage or something. So, in theory, now there's billions of Bitcoin on paper, right? And that's where it loses sort of the attractiveness, I guess, about it. But what are you gonna do? I mean,
yeah, well, that is definitely part of the problem of the margin markets and the futures contracts and things like this, is that it's creating a situation where there's a lot of value being created without actually having the value, which it's problematic when it comes down to it. So yeah, I definitely hope for a future where we can have just great adoption, lots of people using Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, right now, I don't know how you've seen it lately, but there's still that massive tribalism too. I mean, some people just refuse to accept it. And I remember when I first got into it, I was really hard on like everything. I was like, Bitcoin's too slow, it's crap. Ethereum's garbage. Ripple, it's a banker's coin. EOS is centralized. Tron is plagiarized. Like literally, like I hated everything, right? And over time, I start to just put aside the differences, and just be like, all right, let me see, are they doing anything, but sometimes, unfortunately, and you can even turn to history for this, sometimes it's not only what people agree on that brings them together, but sometimes it's what they disagree on. You'll find a lot of times in history, a country can sort of come together by hating another country or another group of people, which is sad. And sometimes, you find these groups almost coming together through the hatred of a competitor platform or something like that.
Yeah.
When in reality, we're so small. Why are we hating on each other? We should be trying to build this space up. I mean,
we're all fighting for the same thing. It's about a better future for finance, taking power away from central banks and fiat currencies and all these things. It's what everyone kind of wants. Yeah. No, I actually did a video on Bitcoin maximalism, basically saying that I don't agree completely with Bitcoin maximalists, and a lot of Bitcoin maximalists didn't like that video, but that's okay. It was designed to spur a debate. But the idea, okay, Bitcoin's the king of the markets. No one can dispute that. Look at the numbers, right? Bitcoin also has amazing brand recognition. It's got the biggest network effect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to say that the rest of the crypto markets don't have any value is a crazy thing. And look, it's not just Bitcoin. I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments on that too in this video. Go for it, Bitcoin maximalist. Tear it up down below in the comment section. But the reality is that this kind of tribalism, I feel like it's the tools of the past, man. Like this is the same divide and conquer BS. I mean, like look at politics. You vote for Team Blue, you vote for Team Red. Same crap happens either way. Look at team sports. My team won. Your team's gonna win next year. What's it matter, man? My country versus your country. Dude, all this stuff's irrelevant. Let's move to the future. Let's move to the future.
Dude, honestly,
that stuff's not as relevant anymore.
If I really gave my opinion on that on the channel right now, a lot of people would be like, wait, are we still watching a crypto show? Because, I have a lot of opinions on that whole divide and conquer thing. I mean, even just in the news, it's always pro this or pro this, or these lives matter or those lives matter, or, your opinion on genders, and it's just constantly just dividing. That's all it ever is. I mean, turn on the TV, and at some point, there's going to be a main major story that's about how these people disagree, right? Like, build the wall, don't build the wall. I don't know. It's just crazy. And sometimes I think that you're right, and it's a lot easier when we can separate them, And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to really harp on this too much. Nobody wants to hear about that stuff, but I agree.
No, but I agree. When it comes down to it, a lot of this stuff is important because look at what's happened to our society, divide and conquer, right? It's hard for us. Imagine. How are the citizens ever going to unite to take back the power from their government? We are the many, they are the extreme few, and they hold all the cards. They have all the money, they have all the power, they have soldiers that they pay and give guns to, that if you don't pay your taxes, or if you do something, if you take a substance that they disagree with, all these different things, they're going to come out and get you. Right?
Yeah, and the thing is, they change their mind whenever they want. I mean, not to cut you off, Lark, but I mean, for example, what about all the guys in the U.S. right now that are sitting in jail for selling marijuana, and now marijuana is getting legalized in all these different states, and literally people are opening up shops. There's one that just opened down the street from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what about all those guys in jail that were, I don't know. I just feel like the SEC and the government and everybody, it's like, they just change their mind, whatever they want to do. And that's why a lot of people are freaked out with the SEC in crypto too. But I'm sorry, man, get back. I cut you off. That was my bad.
No, it's great points, man. By the way, you got a weed shop down the street from you, man? That's cool.
Wait, did I just say that out loud? I mean, how do I know that? I don't dabble with what
these kids are doing these days, I tell you.
I don't even know what weed is. I've never seen it before. Don't even know what it is. Just heard about
tree.
it.
But no, man, it's really, it's just, the whole thing is we need to be inclusive. Bitcoin is for everybody. And I say Bitcoin, but I mean cryptocurrencies. But Bitcoin is the king of the market, and it's for everybody. It doesn't discriminate. But this is the amazing thing about censorship-resistant, permissionless money. It doesn't care what your religion is, doesn't care what country you live in, it doesn't care what your gender is, doesn't care what your politics are, doesn't care about any of this crap. It just keeps going. And that is the most powerful thing. So to try and find this amazing technology and say, hey, let's start creating little communities where we can bicker with each other, like, you know, I brought up the in my video about Bitcoin maximalists, I brought up the Bitcoin carnivore thing. Like, this is becoming like a thing, and like, that's not me. But I'm not going to go out and start Bitcoin vegans, because it's just, we're not trying to recreate the conflicts of other things. This is money, the money of the future. It's code. Let's focus on the idea of decentralized finance, because we all need to come together if we're ever going to try and end the system of central banking and fiat and unrepresentative government that wastes all of our money on, you know, wars to kill other people in other countries that you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was a different movement too. And unfortunately I wasn't a part of that. You know, I mean, you know, I'm not that old, but, you know, I was doing different things back when Bitcoin came around. You know, when Bitcoin first came out, I was more concerned with just partying, playing beer pong and hanging out. You know, I was in college and stuff like that. I didn't care about Bitcoin, you know? But now, as you know, as an adult, I have a house, you know, I have responsibilities, and I've been hit with these taxes and these fees and these fines, and I've dealt with the legal system. I've seen how slow it is. I mean, geez, just building my house alone, you know how many times I had to like resubmit paperwork over and over and over again because the system is so damn outdated. I can only imagine. It's like you can't get anything done, you know? So I think that there is a need for change. You know, the dinosaurs that are running this place, they're not in a rush, clearly, but we do need a change. And I think that change starts with us. And a lot of people think that, oh, this place is, you know, dead, this and that. It's totally different. I mean, just to quote one thing that I heard from even just Charlie Shrem this morning, which I know people have their opinions on him, but he was speaking about how, you know, in the bear markets when Bitcoin first came out, you know, all the ones that had happened previously, the main question was, oh my God, is Bitcoin still going to be around next year? Now, the question is, when is it going to come back? When is the bear market going to end? You see, it's totally different. So like, we're not even sitting here going, oh, it's dead. We're sitting here going, well, when's it going to come back? Like, it's just a totally different mentality. Like, we know what it's capable of doing, but we've had just a lot of hiccups and a lot of scams and money lost. And it's going to be hard to, sweep 2018 under the you know, carpet. I don't think we'll be able to, but hopefully it'll be a lesson learned.
For sure. But I think one thing to keep in mind too is that a lot of the people probably who were burned, some of them aren't going to come back. Some of them will. Some of them will go, ouch, I got burned, but I can still see the potential there. But that's a tiny fraction of people. And we mentioned that some of the numbers earlier with South America, right? Colombia, Venezuela, local Bitcoin is exploding there. We see Nigeria, massive amounts of interest. Ghana, massive amounts of interest. And on and on and on that story goes around the world with all these different countries which see the incredible power of decentralized finance and permissionless money. And they're getting into it. And this, honestly, I think could be a big part of the next wave. And that next wave, when it happens, it may not be the next wave. Maybe it's the wave after the next wave. Maybe the next wave will be the STO markets. And the next one will be the mass adoption curve. Because when we start to get there, the thing is, people might go, oh, but those are poor countries. People don't have a lot of money in Nigeria. Well, that's not necessarily true. Yes, there are some poor people in Nigeria. But if you say to poor people in Nigeria, like, look in your own country, man, like, I got poor people down the street. You got poor people down the street from you, man. Like, there's poor people everywhere. Yeah. That's not the issue. The thing is that decentralized finance, where people can go out and get a hold of money, can send money internationally, can do imports and exports without having to go to a bank and wait a week and all this BS, if they can even get an account, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to create wealth, and this is going to unleash a whole wave of wealth generation, the likes of which the world has never seen, because right now we have caged finance. And it honestly, I look around and I just feel like there's no coincidence that the Western powers and a few of the East Asian powers have all the finance, whereas it makes it very difficult for countries in like Africa or South America to access international finance, to do international transfers. They have to pay higher fees. They have bad credit ratings, where all the credit ratings are made in Washington. You have the IMF run out of Washington, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All this stuff comes together. You can understand that all these countries, majority of the world's population, has been living under a system of financial tyranny. And when you unleash them from that, when governments can't stop them from that, there's going to be so much innovation, so much business happening in places like Nigeria, so much business happening in Ghana and Brazil, and they're going to just be using cryptocurrencies and unleash an absolute wave.
Yeah, and they're getting frustrated because their governments, if they're not going to help them, they're going to have to help themselves. They're going to have to find alternatives, you know? And I'm actually really proud of all these different cryptos, you know, whether or not you think Dash is a good currency or not, or any of these, or Nano or whatever. The fact is you're seeing these guys go out and take the initiative to really help and, you know, expand. I mean, you just see the fact that 8% of people in America have bought crypto. I think it's less, or it's like 1% or less than 1% worldwide. And that's not even to think about the people that don't even have the ability or the exposure to even have that opportunity. Like we have the option and we choose, maybe I don't feel like it. But think about people that really need it and don't have that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Imagine once presented with that opportunity. That is where you're going to see the game really change. And it's always been difficult from a Western perspective to understand that, but it's actually happening and it's actually out there. So that's not going to change. That is not going to change, regardless of what the news says or who FUDs what. These people are still going to need a sound currency, you know, to live. So
that's right. In the West, we look at it as a novelty, like, oh, it's nice that I can pay for things in Bitcoin, or like we look at extreme cases like, oh, that person was cut out of Patreon, or WikiLeaks has had their PayPal account and their credit card accounts cut off. So if you want to help WikiLeaks, guys, send Bitcoin. Those are extreme cases. But if we look at like, the millions, the billions, literally billions of people right now who are either completely excluded from the global financial system or who are partially excluded from the global financial system. And that's in every country. And plenty of people in America, I'm sure, cannot get a bank account. Plenty of people in New Zealand who cannot get a bank account. And it's not to say that those people are going to start using Bitcoin. Some of those will be reasons of people who don't understand technology, don't give a crap about technology, live out in the middle of the woods, whatever it might be.
There's a lot of people that just don't give a crap. I'm going to tell you that. But that's the truth.
Sure. But in developing economies, it's not true.
Yeah.
In developing economies, there's a lot of people who do care, who are now they didn't have a bank account, they didn't have the internet, and now they've got a mobile phone that has the internet on it. But it's still difficult for them to store their money, to send their money, and there's different payment apps that have been becoming very popular. But still, if you want to send money from, let's say, Ghana to South Africa, it's not as easy. But if you use Bitcoin, very quick, only costs a few cents.
Well, let me ask you a question, Lark. You're I'd say a lot more well-versed when it comes to this type of political, economic, climate type stuff. And one of the questions that a lot of people and I've seen in the chat actually, and I do get asked frequently, is what if there was to be a global financial crisis meltdown or something like that? I mean, what do you think? Do you think that people would turn to something as risky, and as volatile as crypto? Or
I think a lot of people would, because a lot of people go to gold because that's what they know. But at the same time, I definitely think that you could see a lot of people moving into Bitcoin because, okay, how much has Bitcoin gone down this year? Was like a 80% or 75% drop?
It was like 82% last time I checked, yeah.
82% drop. Okay, so in Zimbabwe, they had 5 billion% inflation.
That's crazy.
That's
I can't even do that math, like in my head. I can't even.
And okay, people say, oh, but it's Africa, I'm just dysfunctional, whatever. Like, okay, what about Germany and the Weimar Republic? This stuff happens, and people think it's not going to happen, but then it happens, and then they're caught with their pants down. And I honestly look at what's happening right now in the U.S., and it's just, at some point, that bubble's going to pop. You can't have $22 trillion in debt and be continually adding $1 trillion into the debt every single year. That's unsustainable in the long term, especially when countries are slowly starting to move away from the dollar. Had the U.S. been very pacific in their outlook towards the world, people wouldn't have wanted to move away from the dollar. But because the U.S. has been so aggressive with their foreign policy, countries like Russia are moving away from the dollar.
Russia, even, all jokes aside about Russia buying Bitcoin, but I mean, Putin pretty much said it's not that we don't want to, it's just they're pretty much forcing us to, with these sanctions and everything. Like, we don't have a choice. So
and international settlements are already happening in Bitcoin. They've done some case studies, but the thing is that I covered the Russia story, and I said, whether it's Russia or not, whether we can believe this or not, to think that at some point we're not going to see countries literally getting into Bitcoin, of course it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when that is going to happen, because it's cheaper, it's quicker, and it's not dictated to them by the US. Literally, think about it. Russia has to access the international financial system through a US-led system, a country which regularly gets on the news every single day and calls them, the worst person in the world, the worst enemy in the world. Iran has to do the same thing. Europe's sick of it. China's sick of it. Nobody wants to be doing this anymore. And everyone's looking at this system. It's old. It's tired. We need something new. And so if we did see a collapse of the US economy, that would be a big spur, I think, for Bitcoin, because people would then have something they could count on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I want that, though.
God, I don't want
that. I mean, geez, like, yeah, great for Bitcoin, but like, I live in the U.S., so I don't want my economy to collapse. I just wish that there could be a little more flexibility, between maybe you guys keep trying to figure out your stuff, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna stay with crypto, So that's basically my stance on it. I mean, I don't know how you are. I'm still, for the most part, I know people are gonna laugh and be like, haha, you held. Well, you know what, dude, laugh at me, but I stand by what I believe in. I'm all in crypto. I went all in May of 2017. Yes, I had the run up. I made some profits, but of course I held just like everybody else, because, we thought that it was just going to be a little setback. But yeah, I mean, I'm all in crypto. You'd laugh at my bank account. You really would. If you saw my bank account, you'd just be like, dude, a couple hundred.
I wouldn't laugh. I'd be like, that looks like my bank account.
Yeah, I don't honestly, if I ever have to buy something, I try to buy on websites that'll take Bitcoin. Like I talked about different websites I use for, that they can do Amazon shopping. You can do that. You can pay bills. There's certain airlines you can book and all this other stuff. And honestly, if I have to use cash, worst case scenario, then I'll just, cash out, pay the stupid fee. And, if I have to, I'll do that. So, I mean, I live it. So anybody that says I don't, and then you got guys like Ken Bozak. Oh my God, that guy, I live at home and live on Bitcoin. So I'm kind of like cheating. This guy's like out all the time flying around on conferences. So it's possible, but you know.
That's the thing. It's the cutting edge of the enthusiasts now who are out there proving the point and then documenting it. So
absolutely, man.
That's where it starts. That's where it starts. Again, go spend your Bitcoin, guys. Buy something. Yes. Incentivize merchants.
Buy Bitcoin and spend Bitcoin and then replace it. So that is the takeaway from today's live stream. Lark, I don't know if you wanted to talk about anything else, man. I know our time zones are different. It's 10 o'clock by me, and I didn't eat my dinner yet. I know we're having fun, but
KW, you go to your dinner, man. No, I think that's a great place to end it up on. I think we've covered the whole spectrum of
I think
don't keep your money on exchanges, incentivize the ecosystem, and don't trust your government, guys.
That's it. If you took away those key points, then we had a great session. So thank you. Appreciate. By the way, I just want to say shout out to everybody that came out. Everyone that's watching on Lark's channel. If you haven't checked out Crypto Lark, really cool channel. Obviously, I have his link below in the description. You can just click on it, check him out. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone on both sides that came out. You guys are awesome. Without you, I'd just be talking to myself here. So.
Right back at you. By the way, anyone who is not subscribed to K-Dub's channel yet, there is a link down below in the description. So go and check it out. Lots of great news every day. So you kill it. You put out videos all the time. It's amazing.
Dude, Lark, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Actually, it's been a while. I've been wanting to reach out to you, man, for quite some time, but we've just been so busy with everything and the holidays.
I know, right?
So, but it was really great to catch up, man. I'd love to do this again sometime.
We will. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat. Thanks to the moderators for helping keep it a family-friendly place for people to talk about crypto in the chats there. So,
absolutely.
All right, awesome. You guys are great. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
All right, and on my end, stay crypto and peace out.